Everyone who is rich and famous and powerful is rich and famous and powerful because of you and me giving our attention and our power and our resources away to them. And they do a really good job with what we expect, which is they act out as main characters in our own stories. They take on the projections of these fundamental story arcs that we resonate with. And somehow our emotional system is so powerful in its ability to make us feel like we're experiencing the highs and lows of life through spectating. So in a way, the choice that we've made to invest in them is a very reasonable choice. However, when you think, if you've ever actually like seen a movie being filmed, there is so much activity that you are not seeing in front of the camera. There are, for 10 seconds of film or even 5 seconds, there's probably hours and hours and hours of work that goes into that. There are people running behind the camera with props, and there's like a million assistants, and there's a catering car, and there's a poop place, and it's like that externality to the story is the part that we're missing and the part that keeps us enslaved. It's a bit strange to me that we have this concept of like taking a break and going home and watching Netflix and getting involved in these stories, and how for many people that's a very innocent, innocuous thing to do. I think the whole world is Netflix. I think that we are generally always giving our time, our attention, our resources to other people because we are uncomfortable with the real breadth of a real story, which involves the the running around behind a camera, the ugly angles that you don't see from a lot of actors, the poop place, the the eating and preparing of the food. Like, none of that is depicted in its actuality. And being sold a perfect story over and over and over again has really manipulated and changed our capacity for the mundane, the non-sensational, the ugly, or the uninteresting. And I use all these words which sound negative, not because I think they actually are those things. It's more that we've been told that they're not worth showing. They're not worth making a movie about. Now, I do see this changing, and you see it with a lot of process videos. What does it really take to make something like this? With a lot of behind the scenes footage, which is really, really, a lot of that actually makes you give even more time and resources over to the actors because they're still framed in perfect ways. It just feels a little bit more, oh, I'm seeing something that no one else has seen before. But if we were to truly see everything, I think we would be totally overwhelmed. But it might also help us start to recognize that our own lives follow those same arcs. It's just that there's so much space between the kind of climactic moments that we maybe aren't so able to stitch the narrative together. And I think that fundamentally for me, one of the things about those ugly or, boring moments that you never see included in a film, for me, those are incredibly interesting moments because I don't believe that anything is boring. I really don't. And I think there's a reason why I'm at a place in my life where I'm pulling back my investment of attention from seeing these other actors playing out their stories and getting paid handsomely for it. And I'm putting it back into what I have around me, into the small moments. And I was confessing some things to, yeah, I was confessing some things to my journal. By the way, this is a journal, so part of my practice is making all of this public. But I was confessing some things to my journal, and this line popped out, which was, I traded a lottery ticket for a toolbox. And the context of this journal entry was really about taking out money from the market, which was a very little amount, and basically choosing to invest in my own artistic practice. And then the market shot up and I got really depressed that I had, left thousands of dollars on the table. And so I'm clearly still struggling with this, but the choice to do it in the moment is still a choice that I support, because it's almost like, perfect 2020 vision in hindsight, I didn't know the market was going to go up again. And I chose at that moment that it was still enough money that could afford me a couple of months in my studio. And to think about what's possible with my full attention taken back from all of these other actors and stories and put onto my own life excited me more and felt like a better investment than throwing it into a market that is full of the kind of emotional imbalances that people demonstrate on a daily basis, and the same imbalances that have created the larger economic imbalance in this world. Right now, I'm engaged in that experiment of, what does it really look like to invest in myself? And what does it look like to sit with the kinds of things that make me maybe less desirable as an investment? Because when I can work through those kinks, then I'm really developing a sort of engine, a creative engine, an economic engine, a life engine that I can rely on, that is so much more reliable and satisfactory than basically just putting my money into someone else's game or putting my attention, whatever the resource is. I think one of the other crazy implications of that is if more people start to recognize that their own story is extremely interesting, and as more people start to want to see what's happening behind the camera, what happens when the camera isn't rolling, then I think the world that's impossible to imagine will start to come into being. And that world is going to be very, very different, because right now there's kind of this trend of people are waking up to investing in themselves and becoming creators and starting to share their own content and become their own actors. But it still feels nested within the old paradigm of the people who realize this become the new powerful, the new wealthy, and they're looking for their own audience. And I do believe in the power of an audience, but I don't really support an audience outsourcing their lives to these actors, who again are hiding the truth, the full truth of what it means to be alive and what it means to live out a true story. The audience that I do believe in is one that really benefits from whatever that person is putting out. So it's not medium specific. There are videos that do this. There are art objects that do this. There are experiences that do this. It's a very subtle difference between someone who is taking your attention and someone who is amplifying your life experience. So I really want to be part of this latter group. And I want to do it through the work that I'm making and also just through my presence. And I the thing that's going to look very different is that when we have a world of more people doing the latter, so really amplifying each other's experience of being alive, there's not going to be as much economic gain in that. It's really going to be more of a service-oriented thing. And yet, fundamentally, money is not a good tracker of real life value. there are other things that make our lives feel full and rich. And maybe, and this is speculation on my part, though I'm seeing kind of hints of it, maybe we start to find ways of measuring that other resource share, or that other that other maybe intangible but very real richness that is not in the numbers of wealth or the numbers of engagement, but in something that really makes you feel like you are contributing to the world and you are sharing in relations, powerful, meaningful, supportive relations. For now, it's just the feeling that we have, and it's not a bad thing that that feeling can't be put to numbers. But I also think that there's going to be something really interesting when we start to measure an alternative sort of engagement. How many of the people who've watched a video of mine or who have acquired an artwork of mine have really grown in their own lives because of it, and have also maybe at some point passed that artwork along when it's done its work? That excites me. The real long-term benefit of what we share with each other, that isn't, rewarded just in cash. It isn't just about money flow. It's about total life satisfaction and total life engagement. That's my footnote thought for today.